Hey, what is happening, senders? Welcome back to the Segment Podcast. Joey and I are back on a Tuesday night. What's up, Mr. Joey Yates? How are you, Uncaged
I'm,
MTV?
I'm doing great. Good to be back. Happy
Yes,
4th to everybody. Day
happy
late.
4th. Happy 4th. Happy American birthday. Oh, man, this is going to be an awesome one. Ladies and gentlemen, tonight we have a very special guest on the Segment Podcast. We have Mr. Brian Kennedy, aka BKXC, back from his trip and has decided to come out here on the Segment Podcast and meet you all and talk about bikes. It's going to be a fun evening. Before we get started here locally, Joey, anything new going on in the local area or in the mountain biking arena in general?
I don't have any new news. I'm just excited for this weekend. The ride and shine up at Sky Park is, I think, what
Yes.
everybody's looking forward to this weekend.
Yes, exactly. For those of you who are coming up or who don't know about it and you're just hearing this, Saturday the 9th, we're going to be at Sky Park. We're going to do an event called Ride and Shine, basically inviting a bunch of YouTubers out there, a bunch of cool mountain bike groups, small mountain bike groups, big mountain bike groups. And the whole event is to ride together from 10 until 2:30. And then at 2:30, come on down to the terrace. We've got people within our mountain bike industry. They're going to be talking about stories of inspiration and hope for some of the things that life has thrown their way and how the mountain bike has helped them. So it's going to be very inspirational and look forward to seeing you all. I think a ton of people are going to show. I keep seeing it all over Instagram. In fact, up in BKXC side, we have B Wunker coming down here for it. Brian Gong is going to be out this way.
Nice.
I also think that Bike Sum is going to try to make it. It should be a cool representation of just all cool riders from all over the place.
Well, look what Tony has to say.
Oh my gosh, Tony the Outsider says an enjoyable time. Of course it will be. Outsider's going to be there. It's going to be oh man, and he just had a great trip out in Downeyville. That looked amazing. Did you happen to see any footy coming out of that one, Joey?
I did. I watched the Downeyville, but the one that blew me away was Deer Valley when he's up there in Utah at Park City.
Oh my gosh,
That
that
looks
slow trail, that
that looks
fast flow
great.
trail.
That looks great.
Tony, that looked
Yeah.
amazing, buddy. You got to tell us a little bit more about that. That oh my gosh, that looks so good. B1 Unker.
Yeah.
Man, lots of people out in the audience already. Got to give a couple shout outs here. What's up to Debbie Keo? I see you out there, producer Deb. Obviously, Burrell Bikes took the whole shot right and dirty. I just saw you on the Johnny U show. Congratulations for being on that. That was super fun to see you and Ripper ride in. And Johnny's alter ego also was there. Yeah, segment boys. Trail Dogs, he says, they say, let's
Oh
go,
yeah.
let's go. Good to see you guys on there. Adam Mock, who's going to be co-hosting the Ride and Shine. Actually, this was his idea, child. This was sparked by Lee Like Spikes from Lee McCormick and turned into this idea, which turned into this day coming up, Ride and Shine. Thank you, Adam Mock, for all the work you're putting into that. All right, guys. Without further ado, I know you're all here waiting. Like, Mark, stop talking because we want Brian up here. We want Brian up here. And also, hey, quick shout out to Scouts Out. I see you out there too, buddy. Thank you for being on the show. Welcome aboard. There he is, and Spokesman MTB. Yo, dogs. All right, here we go. Here we go, Joey. This is the biggest guest we've ever had. This, ladies and gentlemen, is Brian Kennedy, aka BKXC. Welcome to the Segment Podcast, buddy.
Hello. I've made it.
You made it. You're making it for us. This is
No, we
incredible.
made it.
We made it. Oh man. So I can't say people don't know Brian Kennedy. I can't say for those of you who don't know BKXC because you all know who BKXC is. But BKXC Brian just came back from a trip. We were talking backstage a little bit about his trip. His wife Sarah just graduated. And what did she graduate in, Brian? What was she studying?
She was studying. Oh man, this is what always gets me. It's
no.
it was a Harvard Graduate School of Education, and then it was entrepreneurship, leadership, and organizations, nonprofit kind of organization specialization master's thingy. And yeah, so hopefully she'll end up in that world and do some stuff with bikes. That would be the coolest thing, but she's got to, figure out what's out there.
That is incredible. And you said Harvard of all places.
Yeah, the one and only. And
Wow.
I talked about this in my BKXC Patreon podcast. I always knew, Harvard is prestigious, but when you think about how many people actually get in, it's like super limited. Like the undergrad stuff is super limited. It's like, oh, okay, that makes more sense if there's only 1,000 students or whatever in undergrad, some crazy number like that.
Yeah, that's like the elite of the elite. They don't let everybody in there. Holy cow. Jeez, congratulations to her. Burrell Bike says, he's in the Nugatorium.
It was not guaranteed to be in the Nugatorium because basically I spent Sunday cleaning this place out, and now it's Tuesday, and half of the stuff is still on my lawn in my backyard right now. So I still have probably 3 days of Nugatorium organization and all that stuff. Oh.
Adam Mock is saying, while you're doing all that hard work over there cleaning up the Negatorium, Adam Mock is saying, I'm trying to get Brian's body and failing. What does one have to do to get a BKXC body?
Oh man, I think no alcohol. I've never had alcohol before, so that starts. That's a good start. I just drink water mostly. I'll have a Coke every once in a while. I'll have sweets. I'd say before I met my wife, I would have sweets out and about. I would never try to keep stuff in the house. Now that with my wife, we have sweets like all the time, all day, every day. And it's so Brian's body isn't quite the same as it ever was, but it's still pretty good.
Oh, that's good. That's good. See, there's hope for the rest of us.
Yeah.
I thought it was the push-ups. I thought, eat a lot of push-ups and you'll get that body.
Yeah. Pull up, push-ups, sit-ups, air squats. You don't need anything. You need some kind of bar to pull up on. But other than that, body weight.
Adam Mock says, no alcohol. Oh, man.
No soda, no alcohol.
Brian, we're
drink
dropping
water.
Like
that's the key. Everybody could probably lose 10 pounds just by doing that.
We're dropping like flies, Brian. We're dropping like flies. Oh, man. So, hey, Brian, take us back a little bit. The name BKXC, and I'm sure you covered this a ton, but where exactly, for the folks of us who don't know, how did you come up with the name BKXC?
Yeah, I always, when I was coming up with a name, I was watching YouTube, kind of studying YouTube a little bit. I really loved Marques Brownlee, the tech guy. You've seen his videos, millions of views, millions of subscribers, and his channel name at the time was MKBHD. And it was kind of it had a ring to it of like, the letters. You could probably get BKXC.com and that kind of stuff. I was like, ooh, 4 letters. And I found like the Twitter or the Instagram or something where it was like BKXC, very simple. And basically I was under the impression when I was mountain biking that cross country was actually big, crazy rides. That's what Northern California cross country races were. They were big, mountainous, awesome rides. And that's basically all the mountain biking. That's mountain biking to most of us is you get on your bike at point A and you do a giant climb and then maybe a giant descent and you come back to point A on your bike. So a big loop. I didn't realize that cross country really meant like wieners and lycra and, like that it's like short travel bikes and all that stuff that I hate. I don't want any part of that stuff. I want a big adventure backcountry ride. So the cross country thing always is kind of stuck and it's like, BKXC, it's a cool thing. People know what it is. But, I don't know what I would have changed it to if I had to start all over again. I could always just call the channel Brian Kennedy because Marques Brownlee just has his name now instead of MKBHD. So yeah, it's one of those things where I'm much more of an enduro or big adventure ride, even though I keep the miles pretty small and the climbing pretty small nowadays, but it is what it is.
Trail Dogs is asking, so you don't do XCs? They're asking?
So XC racing, no, but cross-country riding, I mean, that's basically a cross-country ride is a big ride. But now it's like cross-country riding means flat and not that exciting. Even though if you watch the World Cup cross-country, like they're doing all kinds of jumps and stuff is getting harder and harder all the time. So no, I want my rides to be big climb, big descent. I want the big triangle. That's what I want.
Brian, sorry, I got the kiddo in the background here. Sorry about that.
I would say Brian's riding style is comparable to what I used to always do. Oh, where'd you go?
Oh, he's gone.
Yeah. So I enjoy the climb, and I enjoy watching your channel because I enjoy seeing you session climbs and you conquer them. most people don't care. You do a climb, to you, it's rewarding.
It's a challenge.
It's a challenge. Everybody, oh great, you did a climb, and then they go jump off something giant, and everybody, is excited. But,
yeah.
But I like that climb. I definitely enjoy your riding style.
There's actually a climbing trail that they built in Bentonville called Zone 4, which has 4 zones of crazy climbing. And Sarah and I went out to film a video out there, but it was so ungodly hot that it was just like, we're not going to make it. It's just, we only made it through the first zone, and there was like 3 more zones, and then where are we going to put the bike, and we have to walk the bike back and then film. So that was a total disaster. But I want to get back out there in Bentonville, hopefully during cooler weather, and take on, because it is crazy. I've been all over the world, and I don't think I've never heard of a trail that's a purpose-built bike climb, purpose-built mountain bike climbing challenge trail. We've got all the downhill trails and stuff, and of course there are trails that are climbing challenges just because that's how they built the trail and it's kind of fun, but they purposely built it to be maniacal and crazy. And I only made it through the first zone, but it was tough. I had to take off. I had to dab even in the first zone. So it's ridiculous.
Yeah, I think before COVID, I would play the 0 dab game. There'd be some climbs around my area that if I dabbed, I went back to the bottom and I started up again.
Yeah, it's cool.
Yeah. I definitely love that. Then COVID happened, and then I started jumping everything, and I figured we're all going to die. Let's just go ahead and send it. But
send it big. Nice. So were you able to progress?
I did progress. I found a group, and yeah, definitely. So my riding style has changed a lot since COVID.
Nice. So you surrounded yourself with other guys or gals who were really good at jumping?
Yeah. And started getting towed into some bigger and better stuff. Yeah. But
that's awesome.
So I have 2 riding styles. I have the days where I just want to go out and conquer climbs, and then the other days where I hop on the e-bike now and just descend.
Oh, cool. That's awesome.
Yeah, it's good stuff.
Flexibility.
Definitely flexibility. Yeah, Mark and I went out to Sedona for the Bike Fest, and the climbing there. Whew, that was great.
Man, it's crazy. Sedona is so funny because you look at the mileage and you're like, okay, it's an 8-mile ride, whatever, 1,300 feet of climbing. And then it's just ridiculous. You get through it. It's like, okay, I'm done. The 8 miles was perfectly fine. I'm worn out of all the techie, like trying to worm your way up the trail. Right.
Yeah. We did the big mistake in Sedona. We took a little tiny water bottle and went for a 6-mile ride. And I thought, we all thought we were going to die.
Yeah.
Oh, he's back.
Let him in.
Hey, ladies and gentlemen, I'm sorry about that. I had a minor 4-year-old meltdown on the show. Oh my gosh.
We were talking about your favorite stuff, climbing.
Oh, yes, climbing. Did you tell him about when we went to Sedona and almost died?
Yeah, that's the last thing.
Not enough water.
So the trail that we did, we looked it up on, well, this is my fault, completely my fault. Joey goes, hey, what are we doing tomorrow? And I said, oh, we're going to do, well, what was the trail called, Joey? Was it
Highline?
It was Highline. And I said, it looks like it's just an easy, like over the mountain and done. So probably just like a bottle of water is fine. Had no idea that you had to climb out of Templeton once you're finished with Highline, and everybody was out of water by the time we got to the bottom. And Joey we were trying to eat a granola bar, and it was just like with dry mouth and dehydrated. No water. Yeah. I'm like, what's the matter? I can't hear what he's saying. Yeah. The best part, though, is we had a crew of, well, how many people do we have that day? We had Riding Dirty, we had Rad Dad, Trail Dogs,
Joey from Smooth MTB.
So by the time, Brian, we got into town, we beelined it to that Circle K over in that part of town, and we just dropped all of our bikes out in the parking lot and ran straight to the Slurpee machines, man.
Drinking out of the toilet bowl.
Pretty much, man. We were so thirsty. We were dying. Oh my gosh, that was so fun.
Oh, look who's in here.
Colorado Kid is in here. He says, oh dear God, he's holding a mic. Show off.
Because my other sound is just so broken right now. This is the only thing I can get consistent sound that I think is the right levels and not popping. Hopefully I got a lav mic. I've got a fuzzy mic on top of this, but everything's in disarray. This was the one thing that I can trust. Hopefully it sounds decent.
Yeah, sounds good. BKXC's got the radio voice going on.
Oh yeah.
Oh, putting Robert Schumacher to the test there with B1ker.
High pass filters.
Yeah, I love it. One of the things, Brian, when I reached out to you to come onto the show, one of the things that really like caught my attention is when you were doing the hot challenge over there with Colorado Kid. You're doing the live fireside chat. It was at the very end. You started talking a little bit about like mental strength and mental tenacity. Are you totally into that stuff? Because I love that stuff.
I'm not into it as much as I should be. It's funny because I basically, the way I changed my life was through self-help type books and audiobooks and reflecting about myself and what are my weaknesses and what are my strengths and what do I want to do? Do I just want to be an employee at a company that nobody cares about, or do I want to build my own business and do something like that? So that was a huge part of my transformation and how I was able to build this thing and make it be my full-time job for 5.5 years now, almost 6 years. And yeah, I love that stuff, but it's been too long since I've gone back. It's like, it's a mental workout. It's like mental exercise of, hey, evaluating your life, evaluating your routine and what you're doing. And are you spinning your wheels over here, and kind of having that framework, just like working out, you've got to work out. You only rent your fitness. So mental fitness is just as important as physical fitness, and both are just falling apart right now. I'm juggling so many things and all this stuff, but I'll still turn on the David Goggins on Instagram and have him fire me up about stuff.
I love that. Stay hard.
Stay hard. Who's going to carry the boat?
Who's going to carry the boat? I love it. Take us back, Brian, back to that Brian back then when you were going through the thought process of change. Where were you in life?
Where was I? I was working at the newspaper. So the Napa Valley Register was a news, or actually, that was my previous job. It's a little blur. So this is like when I started the channel 2016, I was working at the cookware company. So potsandpans.com. If you go to potsandpans.com, I don't know if it's been updated, but basically for the past 5 years or so, the website looked almost exactly the same as I left it from when I worked there, from when I changed the homepage and said, hey, let's try to do this instead of that. So I was working for a cookware company and basically never really made an impact on anyone. I worked on these websites that no one really looked at. And just because we were a cookware manufacturer, we had to have a website and we had to have an e-commerce site. Really, our customers were Amazon and Target and Walmart, but we had a website because maybe somehow somebody wanted to order something. We'd get maybe one order a day or something like that. Maybe 2 or 3 orders a day, whatever it was. It was just completely pathetic that like, this was my life. I'm dedicated to working on this website that affects no one and does anything. So I was like, man, how can I build something? Build a business, build a life where I could go on mountain bike vacations. I had always heard about this Basque MTB, and I'd seen photos from these trips in Spain and been like, wow, what kind of life? What kind of life could you actually build to go out on these kind of trips? And, because in the corporate world, as a middle type guy, lowly peon, I had 2 weeks of vacation. And
for the year,
I mentioned the Napa Valley Register, the newspaper. I worked there long enough. Like I'd worked at the newspaper for 6 years, and it's 5 years. I got two more weeks, or I got 3 weeks of vacation. It was like, whoa, I got this whole extra week of paid vacation. Holy moly. And then when I switched to the cookware company, they're like, no, back to 2 weeks vacation.
Oh, so man.
That meant more to me. The vacation meant more to me than almost anything. It's like the pay is what it is. It's not that great. Like I'm close to home. Didn't work nights and weekends. So I was like, I know I'm smarter. I'm as smart as anyone, not smarter, but as smart as anyone that runs their own business. I always talk about, the plumber that comes to my house, the tree guy that comes to my house. They're all worthless. They're completely worthless. They don't treat their business like a business. They're driving fancy cars, but somehow I'm like, hey, I'd love you to come out and check out my tree and trim it. Oh yeah, sure. And then never get back to me. But I see them driving around town, and it's like, hey, you can actually operate a business where you just piss people off and actually don't like be thorough about it, or like, you know, the plumber where you like leave a message and it's like call 24/7 plumbing, and they never call you back, or, you know, how can all these people run these businesses where they never
Stay alive,
call
right?
anyone back? So I'm like, I think
Right.
I can get to that level. I can
At
call
least
people back and probably make enough to cover my rent. So that was my mindset. It's like, I got to find a way. So I was
so
kind of looking at online businesses, and, you know, Amazon affiliate stuff is big, of building websites that get traffic, and then you can sell products through that. And so I did a whole thing with smart sprinkler controllers. You guys have maybe heard the story before, but I found like a little niche where it's like, oh, these smart sprinkler controllers that are hooked up to Wi-Fi. If it rains, they don't water your lawn. And that was a total problem that I had when my lawn would always get watered when it's raining.
when
So I
it's
was like,
raining.
oh, so I wanted to look into that. So I started a little channel called the Wi-Fi Garden, and doing sprinkler controller reviews. And it was great because
Wow.
it's like a $300 item. So for an Amazon affiliate link, you make 12%. It was like, I would make like 25 bucks every time I sold one.
Wow.
So basically that was kind of my first thing of, okay, I had a YouTube channel. There was a couple other experiments between that, but that was the first time I was like, oh, I actually made a couple $100 a month doing this. It's possible. But then I saw my first Nate Hills video on hangover in Sedona, and it changed my life, because it was like, wait a second, the footage is stable and you could actually hear what he was saying. It was actually not him, because Nate Hills barely talks, but it was his buddy following Nate Hills, but it's on Nate Hills' channel. And he says, chasing Mr. Hills. And those 3 words changed my life, because I was like, what? You could actually go on a mountain bike ride and talk to the camera while you're riding, and the footage is actually watchable. Because before then, GoPro was absolutely garbage. There was no use for a GoPro except for shaky camera, terrible sound. And seeing that video, I was like, what's a gimbal? I saw everyone in the comments saying, what gimbal are you using? I had no idea what a gimbal was. But within 5 minutes, I figured it out, ordered all the stuff, and within the next week, probably posted my first video on YouTube, and that was it from there.
No kidding. Wow. So you were like completely in love with mountain biking at the time that you were looking for something to do.
Yes, I just wanted to do something else to be able to go mountain bike more.
That's incredible. Now, did you quit your job cold turkey, or was there a moment where you really ramped up the YouTube business first to get the boat closer to the dock and then jump?
Yeah, the runway, the takeoff.
Yes.
It was more about 6 months. So it's like, I first had to post those videos and be like, okay, does anybody actually want this? Do they like it? YouTube, even today, you post a video and you're like, are people going to find it? But luckily back then, there wasn't that much good, solid mountain bike content. There were people making mountain bike videos. There was good informational stuff. MTB Tips, guy from Australia that has like a yellow thing, like that guy was killing it back then, getting tons of views, tons of stuff. And Seth's Bike Hacks was in existence back then. And he was teaching people stuff. He was doing cool stuff. It was just different than my idea of taking people along for a ride and actually showing what a ride would look like. Hey, I started here. I parked here. I did this loop. I climbed this long. The informational stuff that I was craving. I obsessed over maps, and Trail Forks wasn't quite out, or I wasn't quite aware of it around that time, 2016. I was looking at MTB Project constantly, and maybe Trail Forks, just constantly, of where could I go? What's a good trail? And just hunting. So that's why I wanted to be that resource for people to be like, wow, I saw that video and I want to go ride that trail.
Wow. So even like then in 2016, when you were creating video, were you able to tell the content that you wanted to put out, like that type of informational content? Did that seem to get more views than just like the POVs, or were you able to figure that out pretty quickly?
Very interesting, because it's pretty much always been POV. I've done sprinkled in different videos here and there. Sometimes they do really good, sometimes they do really bad. But yeah, the POV from the start was always kind of what was my bread and butter. And that's what people commented on. That's what there was a ton of views on, not a ton, but it was like 10,000 views. Like, whoa, okay, 15,000 views. Holy moly. And a lot of it at the start was doing demo days of bikes, because bikes are just constant SEO magic of, I rode the Santa Cruz Bronson. I did this bike. I tested that bike. And really, I didn't have any business being a bike tester. I have no vocabulary even now to be able to like, oh, that bike is really plush through the hard stuff, and it really so I have none of that. I ride the bike. I like bikes. I could maybe tell 15 years later now, maybe I can kind of tell like, oh yeah, that felt a little different, but it was great SEO, and I kind of rode the bikes, and people were craving that content so much that even though it was kind of a minimal, it wasn't that great of a guide, I could still show it off and like, hey, I rode this trail on this bike, at least that. But back to your question about quitting my job, that was a very interesting 6 months, 6 months in, I'm like, I probably only had 5,000 subscribers, maybe 8,000 subscribers.
Wow.
And I'm like, the trajectory is going. I'm getting views. People are coming along for the ride. I figured that within 1 year I could get 50,000 subscribers. And then, in general, YouTube, if you're doing everything crazy, you can get $1 per subscriber per year. So 50,000 subscribers, hey, $50,000 a year, that should be able to cover my rent. And travel is expensive as all hell. So it's really, that's spending every dollar you make. But that was kind of what I was focused on. It's like, okay, if I could squeeze $1 per subscriber per year, I could get this going. And so in October, that's when I quit my job. I was like, oh, I'm going to try this. I'm going to do this. And that's when I started my Patreon. And there's plenty of people that have been on that Patreon from the very start. $3 a month. Inflation be damned. The same $3 a month for the past 6 years or so. But yeah, it was so hard. Even though I thought I had as much as a sure thing as you could have in life, I was like, people like this. YouTube's a thing. The thing is, the person, like, there was already like a full-time fishing guy. There's already a full-time bodybuilding guy on YouTube. That had already been done to death. Like, there's a million things on YouTube that had already been done where it's like, I don't think there's not a full-time mountain bike creator. It just hadn't been done yet. The world hadn't caught up, and the gimbal was a huge part of that. So I was like, I could do this. I could make consistent content, 3 videos a week at that time, which is just insane to even imagine. And but I did it, and it was very tough to be like, I'm quitting my job, even though this thing is like definitely going to work and it's amazing and I can live the life of my dreams and own my time. It was still so hard to tell my parents, to tell my work that I'm going to go do this. But I did. I faced all I possibly could and do it. And one of the biggest helps in that was Casey Neistat, the YouTuber. He made so many inspirational videos. I was watching his vlogs all along the way in 2016. He had several inspirational videos that were like self-help, mental toughness. In life, there's only 2 things you should be doing: figuring out what you want to do and then doing it. So it was, and like absolute disregard for failure. He's like, if I fail, I fail, and stuff fails. You don't die. It's not life or death. It's like, oh, I go back to the cookware company. They'll probably take me back. I did good there, So that all these little things that just little tiny, paint, basically you had to paint these little layers to get yourself tall enough to be like, I can do this. And I did.
That's amazing. I was going to ask, was there any inspirational, informative pieces or people in that time frame of your life? So definitely sounds like Casey Neistat was one. But like going back to hearing you saying like, I wanted to live more than what I was getting. Like 2 weeks out of the year for vacation is definitely not enough for me. I want to figure out how to ride my bike. I want to figure out how to do these other things. Was there like somebody that helped plant that into your thought process? Were you raised that way, or did you just gravitate towards that?
We're like, my family's very much like, go to school, get a job, and just there's not much entrepreneurialness. There's not many business owners. My aunt has a business. She cuts hair, that's a small business. And like, she did that my whole life, but really it was like, get a union job. Union jobs, number one, that kind of thing. But my mom and dad were always like, work with your mind, not with your back. Because my dad was an iron worker, worked, hard hours, building skyscrapers and that kind of stuff. And my family's iron workers and stuff. So yeah, it was just, it's very foreign. It's kind of almost similar to like, we were kind of the first kids to go to college in our family. And because, we're 3rd generation at this point, immigrant, from the side of the family that we know of, but it was very much, just getting through high school, getting into the union was like the thing. And then we went to college, and now starting my own business is kind of like, oh, I was the first in my family to start a business kind of thing.
Oh my gosh.
That's a badge of honor for me.
Yeah. I mean, when you were going through that, so that was not the norm then. So probably your work and your family, was that a tough conversation to have, Brian, when you were like, I'm quitting my job and I'm going to run through this YouTube thing, and they're going to be like, wait, what?
Definitely. Because it's like, I was just on this path of this normal path, and it was good enough. And I'm sure if I would have stuck it out, I would have, gotten a little bit further or whatever down the path. But Yeah, it was tough, but my parents have supported me. The channel, my dad helps out in the shit. You know, my dad helps out tons of all these different things, and my mom was just like, "Yeah, if it makes you happy, it makes you happy," kind of thing. So
That's
it
awesome.
was it was very fortunate because I hadn't found a woman yet. I was single. I was, very low expenses. So if I had a family at that time, that could have been a lot more, another whole hurdle to bust down the door and do it. But I would have hoped that I would have done it to, compared to what I was doing and how I was going, that this was the better path.
Gosh, man, I love how you pave the way for others to think about this mindset that it can be done, it could happen. And I love what you said about failure because you're right. If you fail at something, you don't die. For a business or something like that, you just can start over.
Yeah.
It's like a video game. Like, oh,
Yeah,
that should have went left. My
totally.
guy fell in the
And
little hole.
yeah, that is a good way to put it. Is like, because I ride with a lot of YouTubers, I talk to a lot of YouTubers, and a lot of their mindset is, man, if the channel ever takes off, instead of I'm going to work on this thing and I'm going to do it. That YouTube's not a lottery ticket; it's a shovel and a hole that you have to dig. It's like how many strokes of that shovel are you going to put in? Maybe somebody has an excavator, somebody has a spoon, but over the time, over 5 years or something, you put in that work and you make it happen. There's luck involved with anything. There's luck involved in all of our lives to get where we are. But the one thing, if you're a YouTuber, it looks like everybody in the comments right now is a YouTuber. The mindset of, if my channel takes off, once I get 10,000 subscribers, once I get 1,000 subscribers, it's not the mindset. It's how can I make the best video that the most people are going to enjoy and make people feel something? How can I make people actually feel something? Because that's really all that matters is the emotion.
I like that. Yeah, I mean, you're an excellent storyteller when you're building your videos, and I'm watching them. For me, I'm like laying in bed at night and I'm watching them, and I'm just like, dang, this is great. But now, did you have schooling for that, or is that something you kind of figured out as you went along?
I've watched probably millions of hours of TV growing up and movies and TV, so at least I kind of have somewhat of an idea of like attention span and like keep cutting and keep the boring stuff out. It's just the best of the best part of the trail, the best part of the jokes. There's a lot of stuff that gets left on the cutting room floor that's not worth putting in there to keep people entertained. One thing that I can the biggest thing, if I pull up any mountain bike YouTuber's video and I listen to it, I don't watch it, I listen to it, you pretty much don't know what's going on. You don't know where they're at, it's all weirdly visual and they're not really talking that much. Some people do, but that's kind of the one difference is that if you load up one of my YouTube videos, you'll hear what's going on. You'll hear the trail. You hear me talking almost constantly, which some people don't like, but you're taking people through that journey. And that's one of my benefits, to be able to talk a little bit to entertain people.
I love it. I love it. My MTB video is saying, love the commitment to creating a career that you love.
Thank you. Fist bump.
Fist bump.
Fist bump emoji.
We got some super chats coming in. Trail Monster, look at that. Mark, congrats on having the one and only BKXC on the show. Maybe one day I'll find my way onto the show as well. Gotta have goals.
Gotta have goals, definitely.
That is awesome. Definitely the goals thing. Well, and we could talk about the goals thing because I have a couple things I'd like to say about the goals. Burrell Bikes is saying, so did Brian know Sarah before that first ride vid, or did they literally fall for each other that fast?
Yeah, I had met her the night before. That was the first time I met her, was like the night before. And I like pulled up in my van and we were kind of camping out in our friend Brian's house in Georgia. And we just kind of said hi. We sat around the campfire. All of 4 of us were hanging out. But yeah, that ride video was the first time we kind of had one-on-one talking time and we were riding. And yeah, it was just that quick.
I love it. So you guys had chemistry right away.
Oh yeah.
Was it one of those things where you eyed her and you're like, oh, hey, I gotta figure out how to talk to this girl a little bit?
Yeah, I said it in the video. If you watch the video back, I said, hey, Sarah, if you ever feel like quitting your job and traveling the world in a van, and she was like, yes. It was funny.
That's awesome. That's awesome. I know this little guy. See, he's trying to get him to bed. Mama's got a birthday dinner tonight, so she wasn't here to help me. But he's here. Colorado Kid says, good call on the steak, gents. It's fire. Oh, they're having a party in the chat right over here.
Oh yeah, I'll fill you in on that. So he was asking what to order for dinner tonight.
The salmon and the
The blue New York steak. Trail Pimp is saying, "I wish my wife rode a bike. She watches TV." Okay, we'll edit that last part out for you, Trail Pimp, in case she ever sees this. Burrell Bikes 199 says, "Has Brian given up on live streams during rides?"
No, I haven't fully given up on it, but there's just so many moving parts that it's like I need a couple more dedicated days of experimentation versus the couple more days of fixing the shed versus it's like when we're away from home for so many months, it's like there's so much collateral damage that I got to clean up before I can restart that. But I love the idea of the live stream ride. That is totally the future. You know, you can imagine like a satellite pack that's actually doing a 4K live ride right now. It's just so cool and so interesting and fun.
Charlie Hicks is saying, "Good to see BKXC on the segment."
Charlie. I recognize that name.
Yeah. Colorado Kiss says, "Uh-oh, Charlie Hicks is here. There goes the neighborhood." Oh, Charlie's got a name for himself out there. Brian, I was going to ask you, when you're out there on the trails, your voice comes through so clearly. And then when I watch back my GoPro, it's like, drop. And the person behind me is like, "What, gap?" And I'm like, no, I said, "Oh, no." Write her down. How does your voice come out so clearly?
Yeah, so I do. I have like a Rode. I actually have it like right here. The Rode Wireless Go. Okay. So you know, I've got the media mod hooked up to the GoPro, wearing it on my chest, and then I have a cable coming out for a lavalier microphone that's kind of clipped more on my chest.
Okay.
Just to have a little bit better voice. And then I also have whoever's riding with me, I have them mic'd up. So I get two voices. We can talk back and forth, but we just talk back and forth in our normal voices. We don't have like a phone call going where we can hear each other better or anything like that, which actually kind of would be kind of cool because you could really hear each other and talk back and forth that way. But yeah, it's pretty simple. If you ever go to one of my videos, if you click the link in the description, there's like my GoPro setup and you'll see all the stuff there.
So do both riders have the media mod then on the GoPro?
No, so it's great. So the other rider just has one of those little wireless Go microphones with them and a lavalier mic. So it's totally just one little thing for them instead of having two setups and having to sync it all. So it works pretty good. It goes right into the GoPro and you can hear both people and it's pretty magical. I go back and watch some of my older videos and it's like crazy not to have the other person talking. And it's just like I'll write little subtitles sometimes, you know, back then.
Yeah, I really enjoy that on the last couple of rides. I can hear Sarah talking and it's like she's right there. Yeah, it's cool. Yeah. Uh-oh.
Oh, he lost it again. The old 4-year-old pounded the keyboard, hit escape.
He broke out of the duct tape, everybody's saying. So
yeah, that's what it was. I saw somebody say duct tape before. Put on Coco Melon, put on monster truck rallies, and he'll
oh yeah, monster trucks are the best for little guys.
Zoned in on the screen time.
Oh, so Moab. That's definitely a place I want to get to after watching your videos. I have to ride there, but that looks amazing.
Moab is really, really good. And I'm so glad that I finally got to go do Portal with my buddy Aaron and MTBing Adventures. And that was just something else. It lived up to the hype and it's like one of my favorite rides of all time. And the video is doing crazy well, which is just the best to have a video do really well. And it's pretty cool. Yeah, Moab's got a lot of stuff too, because Slick Rock is the classic that people kind of hate on, but it's really, really good. And then Captain Ahab, of course, the great loop, like one of the best XC. That's XC to me. The nice, amazing loop, which is like a little half day. You get there the first day or the last day you're going to leave. And of course, whole enchilada. That's something I really look forward to taking Sarah down eventually. The whole thing.
Okay. And you were just there, so the weather this time of year is fine. It's not.
Yeah, it was funny. I think it happened to be cooler when we went because it's like Moab's a lot like St. George, a lot like Las Vegas, where it's 100 degrees plus every damn day, all day, every damn day. So people ride in the morning or the evening or something. But there was like a weird storm coming through where it was 84 degrees. So we were like, oh, let's stop in Moab because otherwise I would just avoid it completely.
Nice. Yeah, so you got it at the perfect time. Let's see.
He's back.
Yes, I'm back. The little one wanted to go to bed, but he doesn't want to go to bed by himself. So he's here on the show, ladies and gentlemen. Chat Monster says, Eric, on the road, you can just adjust the joints to the exact levels. Oh, the gains. Sorry, the gains on the exact levels. I have some setup as Brian, same setup as Brian, but I just never use them. I do love the way that your sound comes in on the videos. It is so nice and clean. That's a great idea. Burrell Bike says, I see XC as just having an adventure. Length or lycra don't matter.
I dig it. Yeah.
Right. Yeah.
So, Brian, when it comes to setting those goals, one of the things that I wanted to mention is that goals are so important. And I know you had to set those when you were, going off of your employment onto entrepreneurship. When you decided to, like, it sounded like it was a calculated risk. You were looking at how many subs you were getting, how many views you were getting. Did you set that goal at that point and just said, I'm going to do this because I know this is the target I'm going to hit, or
yeah. And it's kind of like, you don't have control over how many subscribers you get. You don't have control over how many videos you get, but you have control on how many videos you produce, how much work you put into those videos. So it's like those goals have to be, okay, I will make 3 videos a week. I will travel. I will ride the best trails in the world. I will, that kind of stuff. The goals have to be in your control. And then hopefully the fruits of the labors will be like, okay, yeah, I got 50,000 subscribers. So that's actually going to pay for things, and I'm going to do this. And that's why it's so funny, like the YouTube play button and all that stuff, where it's like, it's so arbitrary. It's so up and down. It's not anything. I can control getting up at 5:55 a.m. every day, doing a workout, That's what I can control. I don't do that, by the way, but that's what's in your hand to do, not, 1 million subscribers. I wish.
Yeah, it's definitely one of those, like, control what you can control, and dream to set those goals and go after them and work after them. But like you said earlier, it's not a lotto ticket.
Yeah, exactly. There's difference between goals and dreams. Dreams are great. You got to have dreams, but then you got to have a scaffold to get there.
Exactly. And success always leaves clues from other folks who've done it in the past. Colorado Kid is saying, is there a Guinness Book of World Records that for most trails ridden around the world? And if so, why doesn't Brian have the award displayed in the Nugatorium?
I agree. I'm sure there's some rich guy out there that has ridden more, but like in 2020, I rode 49 states. I traveled all over the country. Who else traveled to 49 states in 2020? Like, nobody. Like, that's crazy. Like, it was so interesting to be in the van and be traveling and all these other trails all over the world. There's other people that have YouTube channels that travel and stuff, but I definitely think over the past 6 years, and I have it documented too, I could prove that I've been all these places. So I agree. I need the Guinness Book of World Records to get out here.
Joey, we need to contact the Guinness Book of World Records and have that person come out. That would be.
And I want to thank Brian for taking that road trip, because I didn't get out much in 2020, and it felt like I did watching his channel.
That was the coolest thing, because everybody's scared. Some people are still scared. We're all scared. Like, it was just the whole thing where it's like, is it right? Is it wrong? And I could be in the van. I could be more self-contained. Yeah. I didn't even get COVID until maybe like a month ago, so I did pretty good.
Did you get that on that? Did you get COVID on that road trip when you were coming back across the states?
I think before we started, graduation, all that stuff, and we're recovering. They say you're the least symptomatic when you're actually the most, you're the least spreadable. What is it? I keep frigging that. I keep having a block with the
contagious, most contagious when you're least symptomatic.
You're least contagious when you're most symptomatic, when you're like sniffling and coughing, even though it sounds the worst. But so I was like, okay, we already had it and we didn't even know we had it, kind of thing, and already tested negative. So we're moving on.
I love the fact this little guy. Joey, would you mind taking it real quick? I'll be right back, you guys.
See you, buddy.
So I was reading the chats here, so I got lost a little bit. But so you did get COVID on this last trip?
Yeah. Before I never tested positive for it, but I'm pretty sure it had to be.
Yeah, I woke up New Year's Day this year with a positive result on my email. I was like, that's the way to start off the year.
Surprise!
0 symptoms, but
yeah, that's the funniest thing too. Of like, comes, goes, like, maybe we had it before, maybe not, but yeah, it was good. I'm glad that the 2020 road trip was pretty successful and doing 49 states. Hawaii couldn't make it happen, but I'd actually been to Hawaii like only a couple months before that in October of 2019. So I had a video from Hawaii and everything, but didn't quite count. I've ridden in all 50 states. I have videos from all 50 states, but in 2020, it was only the 49 state shred.
That's awesome. Do you have a favorite state?
Oh man, that is a great question. Utah has so many good things. California is fantastic. Colorado is very unexplored for me. North Carolina, Western North Carolina is just fantastic. I think of places in terms of like a week's vacation or how long you could spend there. And then there's certain places where you could spend a month, which is crazy. Arkansas is just absolutely crazy with how long you could spend out there. And then of course, British Columbia, the king of the provinces, and Quebec, Quebec City. There's a good handful of amazing places. Nice. I just can't pick one.
And here's a good question too.
Status of Everstoke. We're getting close. We're definitely a year later. I want to make like a 1 year later at Everstoke kind of video. And we got almost 6 miles of trail now. Like we did, Sarah and I did a ride a couple of weeks ago and we did almost 6 miles. It's not, we went in a couple circles and stuff, but pretty impressive that you could do a 6 mile ride out there after we barely had $1 maybe, or I saw the super chat come in $1, but we barely had a mile come through. So it's pretty amazing. We'll have some news. It'll probably be Patreon only for quite a while, but we'll have some news and hopefully get something going and beta test and stuff. We have running water, but we don't have electricity. We don't have a real toilet. There's so many things that are still so roughing it, but people like roughing it. And it's a little dusty campsite and it's a great place. So we'll get it going.
How many acres?
91 acres.
Oh, okay.
Of all straight up and down rolling, it's like there's barely a flat spot on the whole place.
That's awesome.
Yeah, that Everstoke is going to be great, guys. I'm back, and thank you so much for helping. Thank you, Spokesman. Spokesman MTB says people wanted to see some super chats, so here you go. Keep the love alive and continue to inspire. You're good at what you do, brother. $49.99. Good
That's awesome.
Lord. Thank you so much, Spokesman.
Paying for the StreamYard.
Yes, that pays for the StreamYard. We're good for another month, folks. We're live for another month. Brian, so you were talking about Everstoke, and before we get into that, Tomorrow says, "Dang it, I was waiting for this at 6:45."
Welcome back,
Chihuahua. Welcome back, buddy. I know how it goes. So, Brian, with the Everstoke, what are the dreams and goals for that place? Is that going to be like kind of a Sky Park campish type of park, or what's it going to be?
If I had all the money in the world,
it
would be probably one big kind of mansion, like a big like 10-room vacation place where people could rent it for the week.
Ooh.
Like as a group, they could come with 10 of their buddies or 20 of their buddies or however many of their buddies and stay at this really nice house and then basically have all the trails to themselves because that's the property. It's the house, the trails, and I really think that the trails will be private as the Motel 6 pool is private kind of thing. He's back.
But he came back.
So you got to stay at the place to be able to ride the trails and that, but right now, hopefully we'll get a couple campsites. That's kind of the dream at the moment. So it's just one tiny little step at a time is the craziest things. Just literally digging through the dirt of like, okay, what about this? Oh, what about that?
I love the fact. Yeah, I love that you can have a group just go stay there for a week or a few days.
It's the ultimate. There's this guy that has a channel about Airbnb called Short-Term Rental University. His name's Richard, and he has really good ideas and YouTube videos. And he did like a whole thing on this. He built this 14-room crazy house that is made in the Outer Banks of South Carolina or North Carolina, Outer Banks of North Carolina. It's made for this really popular place, windsurfing and stuff. But you could see the design of the place is so cool where everybody has their own bathroom, everyone has their own room, but there's good there's like 2 different kitchens. There's all this stuff where it's like, wow, that's the thing. And then to be able to rent something out for $10,000 a week or something, it's like, oh, but then you split it between 14 people. All of a sudden it totally makes sense. It's just, it all works. But that's such a huge outlay, a huge thing versus, hey, you can put your tent here and you have to poop in this hole over there.
Roughing it.
Exactly.
We have almost never actually seen Brian ride. Can we get Sarah with a GoPro following Brian in a video soon?
Yeah, that would be fun. I think there's a lot of me riding in single track sampler videos, but that was, a couple years ago now. So I feel like over the past year with the latest Ripmo, the Bug Zapper Blue Ripmo, I've gotten so much faster. So I gotta give Sarah a lesson, have her catch my tail, follow my drift.
Uh-oh, those are fighting words. Well, let's go for a ride, and Mark and I'll follow you down the trail.
Yeah.
I'd love to get out there to Everstoke. That looks just amazing out there.
It really is. It's so much, like, it weighs on me so much of like, okay, what all this stuff. But when we get up there and I have like 5 minutes just to sit and enjoy it and soak it in, it's like, wow, we really did this. And if it all falls apart, it all falls apart. But we did it. We went for it.
That's awesome. Are wooden features and stuff, or mainly just
There will be. There's one good wooden feature right now that BCPOV built on his channel, big whale tail thing. That's pretty neat. And but that's definitely the goal. We got plenty of trees that we can cut down, and the forest will still be perfectly fine, and build stuff and kind of establishing the main first network of trails. It's kind of the first thing. And really, it's all about the utilities and the power and the water and the septic and all that stuff, which is just, $1,000 a day for every, we're 50 days away from being able to get there. So it's like, okay, we could drop $300 on this and get a little bit closer.
Right. And then as far as, you said you have a bunch of trees to cut down. So like Alaskan sawmill kind of.
Exactly. We have an Alaskan mill right now. If you go over to MTBing Adventures on his channel, if you just like load it up, you'll see that he's out there all day, every day, building stuff. He did a wood feature recently and just digging trails. So I've been out gallivanting, hopefully trying to make money so I can get that money into Everstoke. And he's out there just being the dirt wizard.
That's awesome. And I was another thing, I wanted to thank you for some of your van build videos.
Yeah.
My son actually lived in a van for a little while. And
oh, wow.
One of the things that we got from your,
hopefully by choice.
Yeah, by choice. Yeah. We got the mirror, the camera mirror.
That's huge. Because it's funny, because the coast to coast road trip where we just loaded up Sarah's car and with all the stuff, I couldn't see out of the back of Sarah's car for that whole road trip for the thousands and thousands of miles. And it's so, it feels so, you're just always looking at the mirror and always kind of thinking, is there someone behind you? And then getting back in the van, it was actually a relief, which is funny that, I can see perfectly fine. I can see everything. And that mirror is definitely awesome.
Yeah. That he loves it. So, oh, look, they're back again. It's back.
Hey guys, sorry. I can't get the little guy down, but he wants to be on the show. So
he's here.
He's here again. So this right here is Mr. BKXC. This is Brian Kennedy, and this is Mr. Uncaged MTB, and we are on a show. Charlie Hicks just put in $19.99 for the show. From the beginning, it seemed like Brian was always helping other YouTubers. How many people have started out telling their YouTube story by mentioning BKXC being the inspiration to get going? It's a lot.
Yeah, it's really, really cool. And people starting YouTube or just people starting out mountain biking, that, it's like got to be 10 times more people than started a YouTube channel, just started and getting into mountain biking. And just to, I just believe so wholeheartedly that mountain biking is the best way to get fit, the best way to make friends, the best way to have an adventure, best way to see the world. So the only downside is that it's so expensive and it's hard to get started. And it's just I'm so happy that I'm spreading that virus into the world instead of selling alcohol or cigarettes or something, maybe something that's legal, but isn't maybe quite ethical. And you know, I get emails from people saying, "Oh man, I quit smoking and started riding my bike. I lost 50 pounds." And it's just like,
Awesome.
whoa. To have that kind of an impact on the world is just absolutely ridiculous.
That's got to feel good, right? Like some of those things are way better than a dollar, money, all that stuff. It just
definitely just having an impact. And you know, you see the numbers like, oh, this video got 50,000 views. That's amazing. It's 50,000 people. Holy moly. And then you get an email like that and it's worth way more than a number on a screen.
Isn't that cool? That is so awesome. It makes it all worth it, man. Now you have Burrell Bikes.
I couldn't resist. Sorry.
He's crafty. He's crafty. This one. Now, congratulations. Also, speaking of numbers, I know we were just talking about value, putting value out there, making impact on people. But it takes eyeballs in order to get those messages that you're putting across. And congratulations on being at 500,000 subscribers.
Yeah.
Good God.
It's crazy.
That is
that many people just click that. Hey, I'd subscribe.
Yeah, it's awesome.
Just made me really
man.
nervous, Mark.
No, that is amazing. Amazing. And then also, Brian, you started up your own bike company as far as components go. How's that going?
Tra1l One components. Yeah. Everybody in the chat, I'm sure, has got all of them, got the full kit so far. But yeah, it's very, very cool because, you know, the idea just with Everstoke and Tra1l One and doing all this all at the same time is that, you know, maybe I do less videos someday. Maybe I'm 90 years old and I can't ride all the time, but hopefully build this company, build Everstoke, and they can pay me $1,000 a month in residual fees or something. And I can be at my retirement home and afford to get a SpongeBob popsicle every once in a while.
Look at all those parts, man. All those components. How were those inspired? Was there something like a small gap that you saw in the market that you decided I kind of want to go after these things here specifically?
Definitely. It's so interesting how things in mountain biking get commoditized like a shirt. You know, it's like it starts to become, okay, a shirt's a shirt, unless you have millions and millions of dollars to have R&D and then make the latest and greatest shirt that changes the whole thing. But it's like, okay, we have a really awesome partner, Colm O'Kane. He's a guy that's worked for Raceface for years and years. And he's from Ireland. He's a designer. And then my partner, Jeff from Worldwide Cyclery, Jeff Cayley, who founded that. And basically we have this awesome designer and we have guys that have awesome relationships with factories. We did the USA made Rockville stem, but mostly factories in Taiwan where 90% of mountain biking stuff is made. And if China ever does anything with Taiwan, it's going to be so crazy. What the heck is going to happen? We won't be able to mountain bike unless you hoard parts, but that's besides the point. But, so coming up with something that has a story, that has a give back, that's the differentiation, because there's so much out there. And, you know, SRAM is able to put in so much money to be able to do wireless shifting and push the technology forward versus like, I think we could do something with making awesome components that are fantastic. I love the grips, the Hell's Gate grips, which are just my favorite grips. I'm glad we made something that's just so badass. And, basically, we have a story component. Hell's Gate was a trail that I rode in Kenya. It's a national park, actually, in Kenya with my buddy Adam. So we're going to donate. And we actually did make a donation. I got to put that up on the website. We did a $2,000 donation to Kajabi MTB, which is the village that Adam lived in with his parents.
Wow.
And,
no way.
Basically for them to go build trails and dig new stuff. And Adam's dad ran the hospital in Kajabi. It was like a missionary thing. It was so cool. Just going to Kenya, going to Africa for the first time, and just telling that story that it's like, hey, we love this. We love this. And we can actually show that it went back into the trails, and that my passion is getting these trails going, getting people riding, getting people visiting towns and spending money and buying lunch afterwards, and how that economic driver of every dollar you spend on trails can come back to you tenfold. I believe in that so much. So it's kind of my little way to sell something, hopefully make a profit, hopefully build a company that we can do this on a massive scale and have all this impact. And if you like what I'm doing, and you can go check it out.
That's really cool, man.
Mark,
That's really cool.
Come in orange.
I see that. Yeah,
Orange,
recently got some orange hits on my new YT bike, so I'm going to pick up some of those some of those grips for sure.
Send me an email. I'll give you some for free. I'll give you a little gift card.
Thank you, Brian. I appreciate that. Yeah, I do love the fact of giving back to the trails, getting people out there. Because, man, for folks who haven't done it, everybody here in the chat tonight has been out on trails before, but there's something magical that happens when you're out there on the trail. All your worries kind of just go away. You're almost in a meditative space, and especially if you're able to get out there with a buddy and hit the trails together, there's just really something cool about that I just want a lot of people to experience, you know. And I love that you're giving that back into the trails with what you guys do. That is,
and it's one little thing at a time. You know, it's like we're pretty stoked that we're able to have a carbon bar, a USA made stem, and grips and all this stuff within. We just started it basically. We've started it for a while, but we launched in November. So it's just like, okay, here's our first little step, and here's our next little step, and that's how everything starts in this world, and hopefully it gets traction.
Yeah, totally. Scouts Out says also amazing therapy.
Definitely.
And Brian, I see that you have a website, Tra1l One Components, and then you work with Jeff also with the Worldwide Cycle League.
Yeah.
Does it matter buying wise, either place?
Yeah, either place, it's totally fine. Worldwide
Okay.
Cyclery, you'll get, suggested other products and stuff. But yeah,
Right.
directly from Tra1l One, you'll get on our email list. Eventually, that's one of my to-dos, to get the email list going and have, that kind of stuff going. And no, it's, if you buy it, you buy it. It works any way.
Nice. Okay. Yeah, these are nice. Oh, did we lose him again? I'm sorry. I'm over here shopping.
Yeah, he's just got his pulled up. I saw Spokesman MTB said someday you can pay someone to run the website and then they'll quit to start a mountain bike YouTube channel. That's awesome, Spokesman MTB.
There you go.
That's my greatest wish.
Right. What's Joe talking about now?
He's got the bread pudding. He's loving it.
He's out there in Phoenix, it sounds like, in the heat.
Yeah. Oh, man. Hey, Google, what's the temperature in Phoenix right now?
The temperature in Phoenix, Arizona currently is 99 degrees.
Just a nice little 99 degrees at 9 p.m. at night.
It's almost dark out and it's 99. It's time to go for a ride.
Brutal.
Woo. And these parts, the Tra1l One, it's been out for the last year or less?
Yeah, November we launched, but we had been working on it for years and years in the background and just trying to scrap and get this together and put money into it and then try this and then launch it and get it going. So crazy. I respect anybody that's ever launched anything, because this is more of like a real business versus a YouTube business, which is like, hey, let's try it out.
Right. Stuff looks so good. I'm over here shopping. Let's see. Let me pop
Big time Toasty in Arizona.
Is that what he's saying? Toasty?
Yep. Rich on 2 wheels. I use the chest mount, and I mount it upside down on the chest mount.
Oh, okay. Which
the helmet mount works. It's personal preference basically to see how it works, and I use the medium mod and then the max lens mod. So if you go to any of my YouTube videos, the more recent ones, and you look in the description, there's a link that says my GoPro setup, and you can see everything, like the batteries I use, every little bits and piece that I use, and the settings I use as well. So it'll get you a little bit of the way there, but then you just have to experiment, and it's painful to figure out, okay, what about this angle? What about that angle?
Right. I recently started shooting, horizontal for the YouTube on the GoPro on the chest.
Yeah.
And it looks great for Instagram and stuff.
Yeah.
YouTube doesn't really work, but
yeah, the vertical, right? Like the stuff is so neat. Like it adds this extra dimension that's so cool, that is very fun.
Yeah, because I've noticed sometimes if you're shooting horizontal and then you try and zoom in for Instagram, it looks like you're really slow.
And it's so like cropped in and it's weaving and stuff. It's not so simple to like be like, oh, I'll just reuse that over there.
Let's see. What do we have? Backup GoPros.
And then speaking of that, Brian, do you? I don't know if anyone's connected to GoPro or Insta360 or any of those, but What do you think about those new Insta360 cameras? How you can grab shots that maybe you didn't see when you're on the trail? Because I think in post you can look around. Have you had a chance to try one of those?
Yeah, I played around with the 360 RS or the
Uh-huh.
dual camera one. They're all
Yeah.
so interesting. I love it for Instagram stuff, for quick clips, but I don't know if it's quite there yet for actual like 4K stabilized footage like the GoPro Hero 10. I use the Hero 10 and the Max Lens mod, and it does a lot of cropping. It crops it down way less than 4K. Then I upscale it back to 4K. But
Gotcha.
it has to keep breaking through. The technology has to just all of a sudden one day be like, oh, what? You just have this one little thing and it looks amazing. And it has to get there. I'm like, it's 6 years into this where it's like the first thing I started out with, the GoPro Hero 4 and the motorized gimbal, is still kind of better than anything I've used, even though I use what I use now just to have the dual microphones and some of the other things that make the video more immersive.
Yeah, that experience that you're on the ride with you guys, going through the trails and through that story. That's interesting because I was looking at that Insta360 as well. I know that one of the YouTubers here in the audience, Riding Dirty, uses that one, and he's able to snag a lot of views. And when Joey and I are out on the trails, I've got the GoPro Hero 9. A lot of times when we shoot for Insta, we just like turn the GoPro vertical. And that seems to do the trick, but sometimes it comes out kind of funky too, but not, I think that's the best thing we can do on those. Is that what you do for Insta shots?
I don't do much Insta stuff. I mostly just pull good clips from my GoPro horizontal, post it on Instagram. So I love the idea of doing the more vertical stuff, but who's got the time?
I know, it's so true. It's so true.
I saw a spokesman said, do you have backup GoPros? I think I have 2 Hero 10s, so I try to keep as backups. I've got a couple of Hero 9s at this point, but now I can put them in the shed for cameras in the shed. When I was doing my cleanup, I put one up there, and so put them to use actually.
And then Brian, I can't believe we're already up on an hour, and gosh, it goes so fast. I want to, obviously I want you to come back on the show for multitude of reasons. when I'm not watching the kiddo at the same time, so I give you my undivided attention. Colorado Kid says, I'm legit at a fancy restaurant watching this live stream.
Did he get it on the big screen at the restaurant? That's what I want to know. On his phone.
Cast it over.
As long as you're drinking with your pinkies out, man, then it's all good. Pinkies out.
Put the ball game off and put this up.
Brian, in closing, I just wanted to ask you, when you went through that pivotal time of becoming BKXC, the YouTuber, that was a big moment, right? You weren't raised by entrepreneurs. Is something outside of your comfort zone. Is there anything, and you went into it not knowing if you're going to succeed or fail. What would you tell people that are kind of in that same area right now? Any encouragement that you would be able to give to them to charge forward?
Man, that's a great question. I think I wish I had my little book list, because there's so many books that are just help you reflect with yourself, or if it's like a therapist or something like that, of just, you can't really move forward in life until you kind of break apart yourself and kind of examine yourself and kind of, and you're never going to fix everything about yourself, but at least maybe like, oh yeah, I think I do this because of this, and I feel this way because of that. And at least you could acknowledge it. So you got to start with that good foundation of knowing yourself, and instead of like, so many people do something just to get away from themselves and like, oh, I'm going to work out 1,000,000 miles an hour and that's going to be my identity and this is everything that I am, instead of being like, maybe this happened and that's what screwed me up and maybe I need to face it.
That's interesting. Yeah, really getting to know who you are to kind of be able to understand how to move forward. One of those like, got to slow down sometimes in order to speed up. Was there something that around that you found in yourself that you were like, you know what, I'm going for it? Was there something that you found that gave you the confidence to go forward? I mean, it's probably the same thing, if I'm guessing, the same thing that not only that started your YouTube, but started Everstoke and started the bike components business. I bet it's something around that same stuff.
Yeah, it's a lot of thinking, it's just a lot of thinking. You think about it, you obsess about it, and you just like, you dwell on it so much, and you take it apart and you put it back together in your mind. And eventually you're like, okay, I need to poop or get off the pot. And eventually it's just like, yes, I'm pooping. I'm getting in there. I'm pulling down my drawers and I'm going for it. And you could always think, what if, and kind of let things fade away. But yeah, there's that decisive moment where it was like, no, I'm going for it. I'm going for it.
I love it. I love it. Well, Brian, thank you so much for being on the show. I really appreciate it. Joey, anything else that you wanted to share or ask BKXC?
No, I think we're good. That was a great episode.
Colorado Kid just says, I just sent Brian and Mark pics of my food. So he is legit at a fancy restaurant. Pinky's out. Hats off to you, Mr. Joe. Hats off to you. Oh, look at that dessert. My God. See, now we can indulge tonight on that yumminess, but apparently that is not how we get BKXC bod. That is how that's how we get
steaks all the way, baby.
You gotta stick to the water.
Burrell Bike says, hey Joey, help Mark out and watch his kid for a few.
I locked my door. That's why he keeps knocking, but he can't get in. So
oh man. Oh, one last thing, Brian. Here we go. Tim Haley wants to ask a question, if it's okay. He hasn't asked. Okay, so Mr. BKXC, one of the silly questions I used to ask guests at the end of the show were like, if you wanted to make up something, what would it be for the industry? This one is cereal a soup? And if and why or why not?
Is cereal soup? I guess it is. I guess technically cereal is a soup. And my favorite cereal of all time is the Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles cereal, which was basically like Chex with like Lucky Charms things, but they were shaped like Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles. I ate so many boxes of that stuff. I'd go through, like my dad would go grocery shopping like once a week. We'd go through like the box by Tuesday or something. He'd be shopping by Sunday, and by Tuesday it'd be all gone.
That's so funny, man.
Oh my gosh. Cereal, because I have not had that one.
Are you looking it up right now, Joey?
Like from the 90s. I wonder if they bring it back or not. But yeah, that was like early 90s.
Spokesman MTB is saying, no, you don't add broth to soup. It makes the broth. Cereal is added to milk separately. Oh, look at that, Mr. Spokesman. I love it. I love it. And then lastly, Burrell says, can we get Brian to do a wrestling interview style exit? Okay.
Brother.
Okay, here we go. Here goes the exit. Ladies and gentlemen, thanks for being on the Segment Podcast. And Brian, close this out.
Do me a favor, brother. Go ride something new, and maybe I'll see you on the trail.
Yoo-hoo! Thank you for joining, ladies and gentlemen. Really appreciate it. Thank you, Mr. BKXC, for being on the show. Joey Yates, thank you for the cover.
That was awesome.
See you guys out on the trail.